This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I'm inclined just to kick off. And we'll just do what we can.
Okay.
Fortunately, it's our first meeting, so be a little slow and late. But it is 7:11, that's 7:12, and we have 6 participants that will serve as a quorum enough to start. So why don't we actually start by just going around and introducing ourselves. I'm Stephen Linsky, and I've been serving as clerk secretary for the past 2 years, and looking to be succeeded in this capacity. I will transition this year, so I'll still be doing it, but as of this time next year, I'm hoping someone else will. Who wants to be next?
I'll go.
Okay.
Eric Sioka. I do the Facebook outreach for the garden. I've been in the garden for 10 plus years. Hopefully next year I'll be in the same capacity, still in the garden. Although this year I'm probably going to try to take it a little bit easier on the soil. I've noticed that in the years we've lost some topsoil and it needs a little bit of rest.
Okay. Eric, actually, his official title is external outreach. We have an external outreach, which is Eric, and an internal outreach, which is Margie, whenever she participates. So it is largely Facebook, but in theory, it extends out throughout the entire community. But thank you, Eric. Anyone else next?
I'm Melissa Lovell. I'm eating my soup. I've been in the garden for a bunch of years, probably close to 10 years, I guess, at this point. And I just kind of do what I can. I really enjoy cleaning the shed and organizing the tools, so that seems to be what I gravitate toward. I'm actually still, it's on my to-do list for all winter to make more signs and help a little more with the hanging up the tool situation in the shed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did a great job last year.
Yeah, it feels good. I enjoy doing that. And then I did do like this attempt at dealing with the thistle thing, where I talked to the extension service and sort of put my effort into that, and we'll see if it moves anywhere from there. Last year, that was kind of a big project. So we'll see.
Okay, great. I didn't realize this is your 10th season, Alyssa? Is that what you said?
It's definitely close to 10 years. It's
Oh, wow.
I haven't actually counted all of the years, but I had like the one plot for a couple of years, and I had 2 plots for the whole bunch of years, and now I'm back to the 1 plot. Yeah.
So, a senior member. I think this is like my 5th season, but wow, that's incredible. Okay, let's keep on going.
So I can go. I'm Donna Chapello, and I'm kind of new in Easthampton. I lived in in Boston for 13 years and was a member of my local community garden there. We did a bunch of stuff. The plots were kind of small. They're about 4 feet by 10 or 12 feet. We had fruit trees. We had some peaches and pears, and we had a lot of raspberries that were community raspberries, and we had a community herb garden. There was only, I think, 10 plots, maybe 8 to 10 plots, depending. One of the plots was community strawberries, but sometimes it was also a farmed plot. We did all our own work, like most community gardens. Built a grape arbor. We built a grape arbor. We built a couple of times, built compost bins. Yeah, and so then I moved out here, and I was trying to find the Easthampton Community Garden and was not successful. But I did get a plot in Northampton in their community garden. but I'm here today to learn about the Easthampton Community Garden. So thank you for having me.
Well, you found us, so welcome. We don't always make it easy. Okay. I see.
And I'm Karen. I know it says Vera, but
Yes.
I'm not Vera, I'm Karen.
I knew you weren't Vera.
So I also haven't been back in Massachusetts for very long. I've had my plot for 2 years. I have an incredible crop of thistles, which I've never had at any other plots before. So I'm still learning how to deal with them. I'm hoping we can think of something better this year, but you know, anyway, it's a learning experience always. And I work on the pollinator garden, and that has some perennials in it from last year. I'm hoping they'll do well. I'll be checking this spring once there's some growth. I keep checking the ones I have around the house to see if they're perking up. Nothing at the house is perking up, so hopefully they'll come back again this year. But I also have some roots to put in that I harvested from a plot here at the house, and hopefully we'll just get more in this year. Last year I had a terrible problem with bogginess from the leaking spring house, and that apparently was fixed, so it should be a good season. The first summer I was here, it was a drought. That was great because things seemed to grow well. Last summer it was record rain, which didn't do anything any good. I'm hoping this year we're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, well, lot of wet weather in the middle of last year, and we had this incredible thistle issue, which we hadn't really had to that kind of scale since I've been here. But so hopefully we'll have a different result this year. But and thank you so much, also Karen, for really kicking off the pollinator garden. It's a nice
Okay.
addition. I think
I'm left.
Maui is
Yeah.
left. Is it Maui? Or
It's Maui.
Maui.
Yes. Yeah. So my name's
Yeah, I
Maui.
figured if it was Maui, it would be Maui.
I know. So this will just be my second season. And I unfortunately have a work commitment at 7:30, but I wanted
Yeah,
to
okay.
come participate as much as I could. And yeah, just looking forward to, similar to what you were saying, Karen, I think, to having less water, hopefully. The plot that I had this last season at one point had like a foot of standing water in it. So really, yeah, just looking forward to hopefully slightly drier season and just getting to be even more familiar with the garden and with my own plot.
Great. Thank you, Maui, for popping in tonight, in light of your conflict. But yeah, so I know it's only the second season. Maybe, well, our next meeting typically is the meeting that we really call people together. April and May are the real kickoffs, and we really try to focus much on our organization so that we can successfully kick off, and then the season will go from there. So this is kind of like an introductory meeting. So I won't go into a lot of detail. I think we'll leave that for the next meeting. So it's always the first Thursday of the month. So if you want to put in your calendars the first Thursday in the next few months, that would be great. And I'll get notices out. We always have kind of a set agenda. I'm going to take 1 second though to put it up. And this is posted in the city website. So if you always looking for the agenda, you can go onto the city website and it'll be posted there. But as you can see, when I say standard the meeting actually always starts off with what's called public comment. And this is true of every City of Easthampton public committee has to start this way. And the idea is that members of the public who want to say something get the first few minutes. So, and it's very rare for us to have anyone who's not basically a gardener come to our meetings to want to say something. We've had city councilors, et cetera. So that's why it's there. There is the acceptance of minutes, and I'm going to post the minutes just 1 second. Then we have a variety of reports, typically starting with the treasurer's report. Again, this is all going to be carryover from 2021. So I guess we will get to that next time. An operations report, typically that's Frank. And typically it's about kind of what's happening and what needs to be done. Then outreach. And as I mentioned, we have two parts of that. One is just external outreach, what's happening there, and that's Eric. Internal outreach, which is communication with between and amongst the gardeners, and that's Margie, and she'll report on that. We have a donation garden, and that will require more discussion about what we're going to do this year on that. Mark Leonis has been heading that up, and I actually also help out because I bring the produce down to the community center for distribution. So Mark and I kind of handle that. And then at the end, we make sure we get time for feedback from anyone who is participating in the meeting before we go on to new business. And then after whatever new business there is, we adjourn, I suppose. I should say. Adjourn. So that's that. Let me get to a couple of folks coming in. Okay, so Margie and Mark are coming in. Hi, Margie.
Hello.
And Mark, hello.
Everybody.
Hi. Okay, so we haven't gone too far. We were kind of waiting for folks to come in. All I've done is just review what our standard agenda is. And we can move on actually to, well, actually, we've all introduced ourselves. If you want to take 1 second to introduce yourself.
Mark Leonis, community gardener.
And Mark, I've mentioned that that you have been kind of overseeing the our donation garden.
Yeah, we're going to need more help this year.
Yes, we are. So we'll talk about that next time. And Margie?
Hi, I'm Margie Phillips, internal outreach.
Yes. Okay, welcome. Okay, so now I'm just going to put our we just looked at the minutes. Now I'm going to put the, excuse me, the agenda. I'm going to put the minutes up for a second. So we do need to adopt the minutes. This is from our last meeting. We last met in November. And for those folks who were there, which would be myself, Eric, Margie, Mark, and Karen, if you haven't already reviewed the minutes, because I did attach them to the notice, you should do so now so that we can move to adopt and or amend if there's anything that needs to be amended. Is there any, does anyone see any need to amend? If there's no need, then I'll adopt, excuse me, the floor is open for a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, Mark has moved adoption.
Seconded.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor to adopt the minutes. Again, only those folks who were there last time can vote on this. All in favor of adoption indicate aye.
Aye.
Or anyone in opposition? Seeing and hearing none, adopted unanimously.
I have a question about the minutes. Can I ask that or?
Yes, you can.
Just around the need to address thistle, particularly around D1, could consult with UMass Extension. I mean, I'm thinking you guys remember that I did consult with UMass Extension and provided like really pretty detailed, recommendations from them. So I just would like to at least revisit that and talk about, nothing ever happened with any of those recommendations. I just don't know
Yes.
exactly what that means, like could consult with UMass Extension, so that's all.
I think that what happened that last time is that we were kind of reviewing, it was kind of like a year in review type of thing, and Thistle was right up there with
Right.
all the things we had to review. So yeah, you had initiated some steps. And I think I just wanted to kind of reference that.
Okay.
But you weren't there I didn't want to put specifics in without you there. So I kind of did that. But you were right, where we need to, be ready to kind of act timely this year. Again, once we get some sense about where we might be. And I think we may know reasonably soon about where we are, maybe early signs about where we are thistle-wise there. But thank you. The intent was not to underrepresent or misrepresent your work on that. It's like to be continued. Molly, I'm going to, just before I'm looking at the time here, and is there anything, give you opportunity to ask any question, or I'm hoping you'll be back in touch, we'll be back in touch and we'll be seeing you at least by, the next meeting.
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
go ahead, if you have any questions or anything.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate it. No, I don't think I have any specific questions at this time. Yeah, I was just looking forward to reconnecting and planning to attend the next ones too. So get more into it.
So the last thing, which we will be discussing a little later on, Maui, which is everyone's has to re-up. And we have an application process through the city clerk's office. So that'll be available. The city clerk does the collection of our monies. So I mentioned this to everyone because you'll need to, we can circulate the form, and we will, but you'll need to kind of mail it in or tender it to the city clerk's office. So.
Okay, great. Is there a timeline that we should keep an eye out for that?
Well, the thing is, we really want to be in a place where when we next meet, we pretty much will see how we, who's got what plots and feel like we've got that laid out. But we don't want to be in a situation where we're assuming people are coming back and if they haven't already kind of re-upped. So this is something we're going to kind of get out really soon with the hope that, by this time next month, everyone's kind of like re-upped in an official way. And if they haven't, then we start to look off of our waiting list, etc. Great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see everyone.
Okay.
Hey, can you tell me how you get on the waiting list?
Well, we are, that's, Margie, I don't know if you want to
Sure.
answer that now, or we can pick that up a little later.
I can answer the question. You just contact me. But there's been, I was going to talk about this later, but it fits now. I've gotten quite a few requests for garden plots, but because we don't know how many openings we have until we know who's returning, And also, I know that sometimes we update, revise the application. I have been asking people to get back to me later on in the month after we have this meeting. And if my memory serves, it's around April 3rd that we request returning gardeners to notify us if they are indeed returning. I might not have that date right, but if I think after this meeting, I will start putting people on the waiting list. But we won't be able to let people know if there's a space until we hear from all the current gardeners, whether or not they're returning. There are still a few open plots. Honestly, I haven't checked much out recently. I haven't really gotten in the groove yet, so that'll start happening. But if you want to be on a waiting list, I would say send me an email. Most people have been. Would you like my email address? It's Marjo Dancer, MarjoDancer @gmail.com.
Yeah, you can type that into the chat if you want to, Margie.
All right, I don't see the chat. Oh, there it is. Okay, I was wondering. Where's the chat?
Yeah, I don't see a chat either.
No,
Well, hold on 1 second. Now that I mentioned it, looking myself, why?
I have it. I have it. Thank you.
Yeah, but you know something?
I don't.
I know.
I mean, I have Margie's email, so I'll
Yeah, but-
connect with her directly.
I don't know.
Thank you.
That's, I don't know why the chat's not showing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
it's a mystery.
Very weird.
It has something to do with the way the host has the meeting set up.
I guess so. This is actually through the city. It's that we go
Yeah.
through the city site here.
Right. Yep.
None of the cities, I've been attending some meetings just to kind of come up to speed on Easthampton, and none of them have chats.
That's interesting. I could have sworn we've used it, duh, but I don't, now you have me doubting.
Huh. Interesting.
They took it away. You used it too much.
Well,
Maybe. Bad. Okay, anyway, you got Margie's.
Yeah, I have it. Thank you.
yeah, that's odd that there's no chat.
Yeah. Well, the big piece of business for this meeting really is getting the form set. I mean, we've largely used the same application form for the past few years. We've made some changes, we've included some information, et cetera, but I think we're at the point where we've got to get something to the city clerk's office fairly soon, and to our own gardeners, of course, first. So that's where we really, I'm looking for the last version of that to put up here, but I only see the 2015 one. Says 20. So
Let me see if I can see if I can find it and send it to you.
yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I have a 2022 plot application, so that's just a few folks. Okay, let's see.
So it's the reason why I can't retrieve it is because it's in our Google Drive, and when I go to copy that, it doesn't copy. I have to do something that I haven't done, so I'd have to go onto the site to do that.
You want me to email you?
Yeah,
I
if
have
you've
it
got
in
it.
my documents. I can email
Yeah,
it to you right
yeah.
now.
If you email it, I'll extract it and I can post it.
All right, just let me figure out how to do this. Okay, here we go.
Alternatively, I can authorize you to share your screen if you want to just put it up on your screen.
No, that's okay. I'm just about there. So the 2021,
Yep.
including new garden information, that would be the one.
I'm sorry, I have to go, but thank you very
Yeah,
much for
Thank you,
having me
thank
for
you.
this time period. I'll see you again. Bye.
Yep.
Okay, there's no subject or anything, Stephen. I
It's
just sent-
okay.
Taking a while. You haven't gotten it yet?
Nope.
Hmm. Yeah, it went.
Okay, just came in.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put it up. So generally speaking, what we look at before we forward it on to the clerk's office is whether or not, for instance, there's anything that needs to be changed in the language, or usually about whether or not there's enough information here. And then secondly, it does spell out the fee, which has been held at $20 now since I've been around. Sometimes we have discussion on that, but we indicate that obviously people can contribute more if they want to, but that there is a minimum fee. That said, we've always been in agreement that anyone who wants to be a gardener and that there's space for them and cannot manage the fee, that we don't exclude people based on that. We've had enough built up over the years so that we can manage that. But that said, we do at least indicate that there is an. So the question I would have for folks is whether or not there's anything that people feel needs to be changed, or is it in shape that we can get it over to the clerk's office? Because again, the idea is to get to the clerk's office for new people, get it out to our returning gardeners, and give it enough time so that monies come in, so that this time next month, which would be April 5th, we pretty much know, hopefully, about where we are with returning gardeners and new gardeners.
Stephen, I have a question. Last year, we talked about possibly adding the cost of compost to the fee.
That's what I was
Yes.
gonna say. Yeah.
So do you want us to talk about that now, or?
Well, so that's really basically we've We did that once, and we did it once because it was felt, we didn't add it to the fee because it's too much of a burden for the clerk's office to have separate, to separately, put in and report, two different columns. Number one. Number two, we did it because we had enough saved away, and we did have a vendor who was agreeable to being billed. Other than that, most of the vendors, and Mark, I know you've helped out with this, strongly prefer cash on hand at the time of the delivery,
Well,
which means that we either have to have petty cash in hand or we just collect money from folks. Go ahead.
yeah, it's been difficult to do that. I can remember you and I trying to collect money from people. I mean, everybody paid up, but it's just like, some people would, and then some people say, I didn't get my compost, or somebody took it, it was, I just wonder if we can't come up with a better system, but whatever it takes. And I'm not sure we should be subsidizing it again out of our savings. I would say that.
I think we all agreed that was a one-time thing that
Exactly.
we thought we could do then, but that's
Right.
not the way to do it.
Right.
But
So
I think, yeah,
I have a suggestion. If it's possible, the way they do this in Northampton seems to work. The day the compost is delivered, or I suppose it doesn't have to be that day, people are asked to bring money if they want compost, and bring buckets if they have buckets. Otherwise, we use our buckets, and they come whatever day the compost is being distributed, and they come and give the money and take the compost, so that it's not just there. Because I don't think it was last year, but I think the year before, people were just taking compost because not everybody realized that it was how to say this, pre-assigned, like people had paid money. So people just thought it was there.
Well, and
So
also we kind of pre-order it based on how many people we think are going to need it. So it's almost, that's the way our system has worked. I don't know how they do it in Northampton.
Oh, we didn't do that last year. We ordered enough so that every plot could get a certain amount.
Oh, I know that. You just referenced Northampton, and I'm saying in the year prior to last year, we did take orders. We said,
Yeah.
who do you want it if you do? Because that would determine based on a certain
Yeah.
quantity of compost per person, how much we would order.
Northampton has pre-orders. So if you decide you want compost, you let us know that you want X amount of compost, however we measure it, buckets or wheelbarrows or whatever. Then we have a total of what we order, and then the person is supposed to be there on the day either that it arrives or that we decide to distribute it. And I don't really remember if we, I think we paid for it when we got it. We didn't have to prepay.
But we need to
So-
know in advance. So I would suggest that we put a box on the application form. I would like compost, and in parentheses, how much it's going to cost without, and it's something to the effect that, it will be collected at the time of the delivery or something, but, at least to get an idea. Who
Yeah,
wants
but
it?
then somebody has to be in charge of collecting that information from the applications, which is an extra job for somebody.
So
I'm not.
who gets the applications? The city?
The city, and then.
Yeah, the city collects them, Mark. And part of the problem, I hear what you're saying, but part of the problem here is that if you're a new gardener and you say, oh, I definitely would like compost, and if they were to send in money for that, they're not even guaranteed us, a spire. What, they don't have a plot. So, I mean, it can only be among plot holders. So it's just very complicated doing it through the city because, again, when the money's come into the city, they get deposited, and then the vendor would have to accept payment through the city, which, and as you know, as much as we've tried, it isn't always timely.
Well, I think Four Seasons will do it. That's the group we used 2 years ago. And I would want to have that conversation with the city, with someone there to say, here's our situation. can you help us with this, rather than us trying to beat our brains
Yeah,
trying to
it's,
figure this
I
out.
mean, I'll be honest, that really is not something that we should rely on. Someone within the city who's going to help us get payment out timely. It
Well, that's
just-
a sad comment.
Well, that's just, but I mean, we want to be aspirational or we want to be
Well, we're trying to
real
solve some problems here.
practical.
This is
We're not special. They're doing it really not for us. So, I mean, I'm just saying.
Wait a minute, but why do we have to involve the city? If we just ask if one of us would need to review the application, leave the city out of it, and just find out how many people are checking that box. And they can only check the box once they've been assigned a plot. They don't even, in the bottom of this, there's for new gardeners, and it's asking them to wait to pay until they're sure that there's a plot available for them. So once there's a plot available, the city doesn't have to do anything. It's just one of us would need to review the applications and find out how many people want.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that, Margie. I was just referencing the payment part of it, not the informational part of it. We can put that on the form.
Yeah, and then
So can I suggest another possibility?
yes,
If we just add $5 to the fee and just
yeah, that's the problem.
tell everyone that some compost is included with the use of your plot?
Well, how much is some? I mean, it depends on what the cost is,
Right.
which varies, Karen.
Right.
And $5
Doesn't
get you a
no?
lot.
Okay,
Well,
I don't
I'm
know.
just saying it doesn't buy you a lot.
No, I can do the math on that one. We've done it before. We figured out, what their charge per yard was, and then we figured out how much in the past, how much each individual would like, and I forget the exact amount, but it was a specific amount. And then we can make the order appropriately. But we need to know what people want and what they're willing to pay for.
So would the next thing be to find out how much the compost is going to cost?
Sure, I can call up. I mean, we worked with, who was the group we were with last year, Stephen? I
Bear
forget.
Path.
Who?
I think it was Bear Path.
Bear Path.
You just mentioned them a minute ago, Mark.
Well, Four Seasons was the group that
Four
we did
Seasons.
2 years ago. That was 2 years
Cool.
ago.
Okay.
But Bear Path was last year, and we did that because we thought that maybe we hadn't paid them in previous years, and we were trying to kind of
Yes.
be a good customer. So we went ahead and took, even though theirs was higher price, Four Seasons had a better. But I can do the research on the cost per yard and get back to everybody.
Yeah. And Bear Path is an approved vendor, so that they have that as well. So we put money into their account, for that. So Bear Path would be the obvious first choice here, Mark. So to Karen, to your point, we need to know availability and then cost, because costs can vary. So
Right.
just finding out whether people are interested in compost doesn't tell you about whether they're interested to have, 3 cubic feet or 20 cubic feet, and if we knew that. So, I mean, the goal of our next meeting is exactly that. Find out, who's interested in that, but it's just the burden of putting on the city to collect the monies and have them held separately is just not going to happen.
Mhm.
So
The other issue with compost is, I think a lot of people are aware of this now, but we just have to be careful that whatever is put into the compost as it's composting does not contain these certain herbicides that persist through composting, and then they end up killing plants in gardeners' plots.
Yeah, we always ordered the organic variety. Is that any help?
Okay.
We don't use our compost heap because that's kind of a mess.
We don't have the capacity for it. It would be nice, but unfortunately we don't. It would be nice if the city had a compost heap or something, but I don't know. UMass used to have a compost heap once upon a time and sold stuff to the public.
yeah, well, I think you're right about that, Mark. I mean, what we can get from the city are the chips, But, you know, to get really high quality compost, which is really kind of what people want, I think you're left to going to vendors, which we've done. And I think that we've been fortunate the last couple of years that the quality has been pretty good,
Yeah.
I believe.
And I just, issue of cost, you know, Bear Path was significantly higher than Four Seasons, but I think I hear you saying you would prefer we stay with Bear Path, even though they're more expensive.
Well, let's do this. Let's get the information that we can put out to people.
Okay,
There was a real good reason to go with Bear Path last year, as you pointed out.
right.
People may not feel that the same way this year.
I don't have any emotional attachment to them. They're nice people. They have good quality product, but Four Seasons was they were pretty decent too the year before.
We just have to make sure whoever they are, that they don't go down the hill.
Exactly. We've had 2 years in a row of trucks getting stuck. And then somebody from the orchard, Russell,
what a
brought
mess.
truck or something to pull him out. That was funny.
God bless Russell. Yeah. So if you'd be kind enough, Mark, to kind of get information, who's going to be available, when they could make potential delivery, whether they have a minimal amount that they want to deliver. Most do. They just don't want to bring a small amount, and what the pricing would be. Then we'll make a decision point. And when we send this out, when we send the application out, then I think we can explain, particularly to returning gardeners, exactly where we are, the latest information on the compost, so that we can be at a place that on April 5th at our meeting, we can make a decision on this with good information.
That's
and the other thing you have to find out, Mark, is the manner in which they would want to accept payment, whether it's COD, whether or not they're willing to be billed, etc.
Yeah, Bear Path was, and I think Four Seasons was too the year before. Although you and I were collecting money.
Yeah, we collected. I'm not certain about Four Seasons, but
maybe I wrote him a check. That was it.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did, Mark. So let's just verify that.
Okay, will do.
Okay. All right. Well,
I have a thing about the application. So I don't remember how this resolved last year, but I know that last year there was an issue with at least one person around physical disability.
Yes.
Relative to physical ability. I don't know exactly what words to use, but an accessibility of the plot. And
yes.
And I remember, there was sort of a little griping about like, gosh, geez, we should have known in advance that this would be an issue. So I feel like there needs to be a place on the application around, so
that's a really good point. I would say, how about really right up top, so people don't miss it, like name, address, email address, telephone. Are you new attorney gardener? We could add here. Are there? How would we word it?
Do you need an accommodation? The only problem is that right now we can't provide that. We talked about getting the city not to do steps at the end that our previous gardener wanted them, but to do something at the end closest to the shed and maybe make it easy for a wheelchair to go down there. But we haven't done that yet. So we can't offer accommodations if we don't have the accommodation.
Well, we can offer at least, a plot that's closest to the parking area or, closest to like a wheelbarrow access, that kind of thing. But no, we can't offer full on ADA accommodations by any means, but.
So we could say something like, do you need a plot do you need a plot that is closest to the parking area?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or we could also say anything about like, do you have physical limitations that, you want us to know about so that we can look like, do you, not that we all want to sign ourselves up for some kind of thing, but like, I don't know, just some way of acknowledging that someone might have physical limitations that they might be able to get volunteer help with, but volunteer help. I don't know if that's opening us up.
No, you don't want to ask anybody if they have physical limitations or disabilities. The way you put it in, like, I don't know, politically correct, I guess is the phrase.
Yeah.
Or social justice. is
Mhm.
about asking if they need an accommodation, because that isn't directly asking them if they have a disability. I don't know, I don't really know what the latest thing is. Maybe it's okay to do that now.
Well, no, I hear what you mean. I mean, but it does seem almost like it's a gray area around like language and what we're proposing that we're offering versus what we can do. And so like we can't necessarily say, do you need an accommodation that we can't provide? But on the other hand, would we want someone to be proactive communicating that they might end up needing additional help? I don't know.
Maybe
How
we
about-
should
how
maybe
about-
we should put at the beginning of that question a statement which addresses the fact that they may have difficulty getting down into the garden area.
Mm,
This is why we're putting that question in. So if they know that up front, then they have the responsibility to look at the spot and see, am I going to be able to get into there?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then
I don't know if we should automatically assume that it's difficult to do. It's difficult for some people. Some people just go running down there. But what about just saying, if you need, if you have any special needs, contact so-and-so, contact one of us.
That's
Just simply a statement like that. And then if they have a special need, they can contact one of us,
mhm.
and we can discuss whether their need is something we can accommodate. Like if they just can't walk all the way down the garden, we can work on getting them a plot if there's an opening that's closer.
Right.
There's not much we can do, but if they need extra help, we can put it out to the community. Does anybody want to provide extra help for community service credit? So we can just put it out there that we're open to hearing about people's special, unique or special needs, something like that.
But Margie, you're going to say if, okay, so maybe the better place is that where we have you serving as the contact down below here. That, let's see. Oh, wait a minute, hold on.
Where the new gardener information is, yeah.
Yeah, from New Gardeners.
Right above that.
Yeah, so maybe we should, for New Gardeners and for those with special needs.
I wouldn't clump it together. I would just say in a separate star sentence, either on top of that or underneath that, if you have any special needs you'd like to discuss with us, please contact. I guess you're making me the point person for that.
Yes. Yes, you are.
But I also do like Karen's, idea. I mean, I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly like the legality around what we can say or what would be the right thing to say or not. But the point being that, yeah, I mean, for anyone with balance issues, or I mean, really anyone with mobility issues is going to have a struggle there. But is laying that out and saying like these garden plots are not, ADA accessible kind of thing, is that like setting us up for legal problems to say that? I don't know.
Yeah, like the way you're phrasing it now, Stephen, we can't say it like that because we can't provide a.
I thought Margie, I'm just doing it the way you had suggested it. You
No, I
tell
said
me.
that-
I'll just write. I'll write it the way you want it. I'm just copying exactly what you said.
No, I didn't say anything about accommodations after we talked about not being able to provide that, but just if anyone has any special needs, please contact, I guess, me.
If anyone has special needs, anyone. And not saying anything about accommodation, just leave it as special
No.
needs.
And
Or
don't,
if anyone would care to discuss a special need, please contact me
Okay,
or whoever.
okay.
okay. So so you're suggesting that we're not like mentioning the fact that it's around physical accessibility. Is that what you're saying? Like we're not making a statement that like the garden plots have, you know, limitations in terms of physical accessibility.
No, well, they're gonna go and look for themselves before they, you know, usually people go and look before they take a plot. So if they look and see the open plots and it's not feasible for them to do that,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think that they would say, no, I can't do that one. Can I do that one? You know, can I take that plot? Or
Mhm.
they can just call me and we'll talk about it. And I'll explain too that where we left off last season was we're kind of in the process of trying to see if we can make even a small accommodation by making a wheelchair accessible path to the plots that are closest to the parking area, because that is the less steep
Yes.
area. So
Mhm.
we are still in process. We're still discussing that, and that's not even. I don't know where we are in that really, but I think it's still a great idea. But meanwhile, maybe someone has an emotional difficulty focusing and they need someone to help them keep focus. We can put that out to the community. I am an organizer. I had a business for a few years, and I often met people who couldn't focus on doing a task, but if someone was there with them, it was way easier for them to do that task. So this kind of general special needs covers everything.
Okay.
I mean, from my perspective, maybe I'm missing something. It's always possible I'm missing something.
Well, I guess
I think that's perfect, Stephen.
Yeah. Okay.
the question I guess that I have is, I mean, I understand it's in process around the wheelchair accessibility. Is because it's a town of Easthampton sort of, I don't know, sponsored project. I don't know if you'd say that, but is there any, do we have any obligation to become ADA, you know, certified accessible? Like, is that something that the city would want to, you know, make sure that they are? Because like, or could someone take issue with the fact that it's not? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just asking that question. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question about whether or not, you know, there are reasonable accommodations that can be made. We've broached this since it arose last year. And
Mhm.
frankly,
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's surprising that it took as long as it did to come up. You know, we have broached it with the city. So,
Uh-huh.
you know, so there's an awareness. But I do think now, as we start into this year, we ought to have, you know, your point is very well taken, Lisa. We ought to have a plan and just best appreciate, you know, what we can, you know, what we'll be able to offer folks. But I think that right now, as best as we know, what kind of like what Margie said, it's kind of our understanding about what might be doable, which is just something that is off the you know, off the parking lot as compared to where we were looking last year. But it's not done yet, and we have a ways to go before it is a reality.
Yeah. I mean, and I certainly, by asking this question, I'm not implying like anybody specifically has any responsibility, except for just sort of generally, does the city have a responsibility, you know, for making, right? I don't know.
I think we would like to do something. We want to do something. There should be something that's available for every Easthampton resident who is interested in gardening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are certain activities that might not lend themselves to being ADA compliant. Now, I knew a person who was in a wheelchair, and she had, this is one possibility, but you also need to get down to the plot. She had, where she lived, they agreed to build these like raised beds, much more raised than we normally have a raised bed, like maybe 2, 3, 4 feet off the ground.
Right.
And she filled them with earth so she could just bend over in her wheelchair and garden. So that would be awesome if we could have a bed like that, but then, you know, we have limited area. So, you know, it's, to me, it's kind of baffling. How do you make an area like that totally ADA compliant?
Oh, I know. You take the D1 and you cover the whole thing with really, really thick fabric so that nothing ever grows there again. And then just make the plot, make the big boxes there.
It's not a bad idea.
Yes.
Couldn't that apply to D2 as well?
Probably, yeah.
So we could do something like have 2 plots that are ADA, I don't know if they're to be compliant or compatible or,
Mm.
but then can we actually can someone with a wheelchair get down that far
Right.
without
No.
risking an accident?
No, it would be terrible getting down that far, too much on that. Yeah, unless it was like a really dedicated ramp.
Now, didn't someone come out, someone from the garden was supposed to come out and look at the area where Becca wanted to put those steps. But I don't remember hearing that ever happened. Does anybody know?
Nope, no idea.
I have a feeling they never came and looked, and then Becca decided to leave because she didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
Which brought up the question, if somebody is having trouble getting all that way down, why don't they take a closer plot when there's one available? So that was also kind of baffling.
It's
But
a
I think this is very good. It opens it up a little bit at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a start. It's a start.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so what I'm going to propose is that we probably have taken this discussion as far as we can tonight with the folks who are here. I'm going to get it out. I'm going to circulate it as a draft, right? See if there are any other suggestions, and then move it along to the city clerk's office. So what I ask is just a sense of the body right now, whether we can proceed like that. Take this draft that we've just worked on, circulate for further comment, and then get it out to our returning members and also to the clerk's office.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yes,
Aye.
except for one thing, Stephen. Before we send it out to returning gardeners, I think I would like to send an email to our contact list asking people who want to return to just let us know.
Okay.
Well, but that we don't have, there's not a lot of time. Well, the thing is, we've got to get something out. I hear what you're saying, but the clerk's office has to have the applications in hand. There may be returning gardeners who, like myself, just used to go to the clerk's office and fill it out and make the payment. So I don't think we should wait terribly long, Margie, for putting something else out, waiting weeks to get a response and then putting a draft on. It's just not enough. If our goal is to be settled on this issue by April 5th, there's not a lot of time.
Didn't we have a deadline for returning gardeners last year, April 3rd, to let us know?
Yeah. So this year we're making it April 5th, so that is when, we can, that's when our meeting is. So it coincides.
So for the returning gardeners to know that, I'm going to send an email to the contact list right after this meeting.
Okay.
And ask people to let us know as soon as possible and no later than April 5th, whether they plan on returning.
Yeah.
Whether or not they plan on returning.
Yeah. In that regard, Margie, we could do, if we were putting something like that out, could we also just put the draft out just so that there's no harm and including the draft with that question.
To the whole community?
Um,
Yeah, I
who-
mean, because really, in a way, what's the reason for asking the question unless you actually get the payment and get the application? Because
Asking the question so that we know how many open plots we have, so that all the people who will be contacting me in the next few weeks will know if there's plots available. Because
but I mean, but you can't actually hold the plot, can you, until you get the application and the payment? You can't actually hold the plot.
no, but I can tell people, yeah, we do have some open plots. We have, okay. So we don't ask people to pay until they're assigned a plot. Because if they pay and then there's no plots, that creates a problem for the city.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying just for all the current gardeners, it seems like you're asking them if they're planning to return, but
Yes, just that. I need to know that.
but you don't really know if they're going to return until they give you the payment and the application. And then you'll
Well, I
know.
tend to take people at their word, and there's always people who decide not to and drop out and
Right.
don't show
So-
up.
so the point is, you might get a representation that doesn't come to fruition because they never turn in a application with payment.
Yeah.
So I don't think it just makes sense to wait. We don't, I mean, I think that the motion again is to be able to circulate a draft ASAP, and then have that go out. And that's going to generate people, Margie, contacting you saying, yes, I'm definitely coming back, or no, I'm not. So I think it will generate something to folks to get them going on this.
All right, question though about the draft.
Yeah.
Are you saying we should send a draft of an application that's not finalized to the entire gardening community?
Well, there's
I
only,
thought that would just go to the committee.
oh, okay, yeah, no, to our, don't we have a separate, yeah, we have a separate committee list, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the committee list.
Yeah, so once the committee reviews it and it's finalized, I will send it out to the whole community.
Okay,
Returning gardeners.
okay,
Meanwhile, I want to know if anybody knows for sure they're not returning, I can have more of a sense of how many open plots we might have. It's never written in stone. Everything always changes.
But that's a different way of asking it. And I agree with you. Like, if you're going to ask people, do you know you're not returning? And they can say, yes, I know I'm not. That's different than saying, do you know you're going to return? Right. It's like, it's just a different way of asking it. But I agree with, if you can get a heads up about who's not returning and then can offer those permits out. That makes sense.
I phrase it as whether or not you're returning. So yes or no, please let us know. I have so many drafts of these emails that I sent out, and I started not reinventing the wheel, and it's what I do at my work too. I have like templates, and I just tweak each template based on the current needs. So that's cool. We're all set. I'm going to send an email to try and find out who is returning or not. And Stephen, you send that application draft around to the committee, and we'll review it. And then once it's finalized, I'll send it out to returning gardeners and anyone who wants a plot when they're assuming there's room.
okay. Okay. Everyone good with that?
Good. Yep.
Good, okay, excellent. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this. Is there any other, I get back to the,
Oh yeah, Sarah King made some inquiries.
yeah, she's returning and was just wondering, she couldn't make it tonight, and she was just wondering if there's any update to our policy about a second plot. And I think he responded, Margie, basically it would have to be a situation where we just have more plots than people.
Yeah, I mean, I would like a second plot too, and I think a lot of other people would too. So right now, I guess.
Yeah, She was just wondering.
And she also asked about the compost, if it would be included in the fee.
She did ask that, yeah.
So that's not happening right now.
No.
Or do we even know yet? We don't
We're
know
gonna,
yet.
well, we're gonna have more information so that people will know that, that they'll have complete and final information on April 5th when we next meet.
Mhm.
And we'll move on from there.
And also, I think anyone who wants to revive those flower beds by the parking area, I would welcome that. Sarah would like to do that, so.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Yeah, we had a couple people and Sarah was one of them. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's all good,
Yeah, that's awesome.
isn't it? Yeah, it's really nice.
One other question, can someone please remind me where the minutes get posted?
The minutes get posted with us on the city website.
Okay,
And actually, Eric, that's not true. Eric, do you also post those?
Yep. I copy them over to the Google Drive and then send links of them out onto the Facebook page.
so it's on the Google Drive also?
It's on the Google Drive also. Yep.
I feel like I was supposed to do that and I dropped the ball, so thank you. And the Facebook page.
I've been copying them and uploading every time that I get the email. So
Fantastic.
What it is, Margie, when I send out the notice, I attach the agenda and the minutes. Eric sees that, Eric posts that, and then copies it onto the drive. Correct, Eric?
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other new business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
That was pretty good.
A little over an hour. Is there a motion?
Motion to
motion.
adjourn.
Okay, Karen made it.
Next meeting, April 5th?
I believe that's the first Thursday of April.
Let's see.
I have it as April 7th.
It's the
Oh, I
7th,
misspoke.
yeah.
Sorry about that. Let's see. It is the 7th. Oh, you know why? I have a Tuesday meeting. That's what I was thinking about. That's my other meeting. Thank you, Eric. April 7th. Okay, perfect. Gives us 2 extra days. That's good. Okay, there's a motion that was raised and seconded. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. That we are adjourned at 8:19.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.